Services Marketing, MKT625. Lecture number 36.
Assalamu alaikum Khawateen Hazrat. Wasim Hassan welcomes you to lecture number 36 of Services Marketing MKT625 at the Virtual University of Pakistan. We are in the process of learning how important people are because we are trying to learn how to close gap number 3, which is between customer-defined standards and people's performance, or for that matter, delivery of service. Because of the lapses that take place on part of the employees, the meaning people, we have this gap. Despite the fact that we have customer-defined standards in place. So, depending upon the criticality of this factor of people, we are trying to understand what is it that we can do as service sellers to have the right people, train them, develop them, and then prepare them to deliver kind of a service which is expected, required, and needed by our customers. Toward that end, we have learned two major strategic areas. The one is hire the right people, and the second is develop them to deliver the service. These are the two strategic areas comprising of three sub-strategies each. And in essence, what we have learned so far is that we should go for hiring the rightmost people. And the rightmost people are the ones who have orientation toward services. It basically is an attitude, and all those people who have that attitude of serving people, of being good team players, could be the ones successful on services jobs. We also have learned that hiring the right people is not sufficient, because once we have hired the right people, we've got to train them and develop them, because each and every organization has its own goals, and depending upon the nature of the goals and the nature of the service, people have got to be trained and developed. Not everyone enters the industry or a certain organization with complete employable skills. These strategies that we have learned basically are from the area of HR, meaning human resources, but they certainly have tremendous implications for the area of internal marketing. So in other words, we can say that all these applications basically are HR and internal marketing applications needed for the companies in order to have the right people, then train and develop them so that they can deliver the right service. What are the next two areas that we need to learn? The third one is provide needed support system. This basically takes our attention to the fact that until the time we have customer-focused and service-focused systems to support our people, organizations just cannot succeed. These support systems can present themselves in two different forms. They could be technical systems based on IT, telecommunications, or any other kind of technology. And these are the systems which are provided by humans through teamwork. Let us talk about all those sub-strategies that we put in place in order to make sure that our people are properly supported to be successful. One of the strategies is to measure the internal service quality. There could be so many different means and ways to measure that, but one way which is becoming quite very popular in the developed markets is to create different teams within the organization of suppliers and customers. So in other words, we have suppliers and we have internal customers. How do we do that? Well, we know there are so many different components of the total process that takes place within the company. If we look at the collection of processes as one big process, we can always divide that into different components, and that can be divided in terms of relevant and related tasks. what we can do is we can lump together those tasks that produce one output. Knowing that their output is going to be the input of somebody else, we create another company, which is the company of customers, and that company will use the output of the other company that I was talking about. So if you happen to be a company of suppliers, company X, that is going to provide some input or contribution to company Y, which is the company of internal customers, your contribution has got to be standardized by yourselves. Once you have defined the standards of your contribution, you also let the other company Y, the company of internal customers, to define the same standards by their perspective. What happens is when they measure your performance as per their standards, they come up with a satisfaction score as if they really are the actual customers. And they can come up with the satisfaction score by employing different techniques that we have learned so far. They can go to things like ServQual, which is developed for internal purposes, just in order to make sure that whatever they've gotten from you as suppliers falls really very well on the 5 dimensions of quality. You can either pick 5 dimensions, or you can pick those dimensions which you think are extremely important and critical to your company. Depending upon the critical quality points or the moments of truth where you think things might go wrong when you are delivering the actual service to your real customers, you can come up with all those points. And once the company Y has assessed your performance in a satisfactory way, you can say that the service provided to that company is of high quality. So depending upon the nature of the service, the size of the company, you can create either just 2 companies or more than 2 companies. And by putting together the experiences or the assessments of all the customers as against contributions of all the suppliers within the company, you can come up with a cumulative score. And the fact is, if all are satisfied, meaning all internal customers are satisfied with the contributions made by different suppliers within the organization, then the chances are that service will be rendered to the actual ultimate customer in a satisfactory way, and the customer will be satisfied. This is one of the strategies that we should take stock of, because it really prepares us to come up with the kind of contributions that are extremely important for the total process. And you will recall I having told you that all the people working for the company, even if they are the ones who are part of the backstage component, have got to be made aware of the fact that they are making valuable contributions toward the delivery of the service. And you can always do that with the help of the blueprint, which you already have with you. You can pinpoint the kind of things they are doing. And once you have played this interesting corporate game of internal suppliers and internal customers, nothing could be better than this exercise, proving to all those backstage component staff how important their inputs and contributions are. In case there is something wrong with the delivery by the internal suppliers, things can always be checked and recovered before it is too late in the day. So in very simple words, these are some of the measurement dynamics which companies should bring into play, because these really keep you from making fatal mistakes, the recovery of which might become difficult. Even if the recovery is not difficult, it is expensive because it takes time, and time is money. So just to make sure that your delivery of the service that you are selling is free of all possible faults, you should exercise this kind of a practice within your organization. The next strategy is to provide support in technical terms and in terms of equipment to your people. It is obvious that no matter however trained and developed people are within our organization, they always will be looking forward to the latest technology and equipment. The support which I'm talking in relation to technology and equipment relates not just hardware, it also relates software. And these are the two areas which we have to look into very incisively in order to come up with the requirements which fit our kind of company. We should not go for the latest hardware only because we want to be one of those companies that are in the forefront of always using the latest technology on the market. No. The basic objective is to be highly efficient so that we can be customer focused and customer efficient, customer friendly, and provide a service to the customer which is of the highest quality. Not just the highest quality, which also gives advantages to the company by way of being efficient. Because as part of the total quality concept, it is not just the final quality which you produce. Two companies that are producing the same quality still are different from each other. The one that is more efficient, meaning the one which produces that service in less time at a lesser cost, is a more efficient company. And therefore, that company is going to carry the competitive advantage. So we've got to make sure that we always use the technology support and equipment which really is going to produce some very positive results in terms of efficiencies, customer satisfaction, the better profitability, so on and so forth. How do we do that? Well, we can always do that with the help of market scanning. And the fact is that your vendors and suppliers who are in touch with you all the time will always let you know what is the latest on the marketplace and how it really fits into your needs. Do not forget the fact that the supplier also is in business, and as part of their marketing strategies, they've got to stay in contact with you because you happen to be one of their important customers. So after you have chosen the right technology and equipment in terms of hardware, you again have to go back to the point of training and developing people in relation to the latest technology that you have inducted into the company. Do not lose sight of the goal, which is to be efficient, which is to be very friendly with the customer, and which is to be a little more profitable than others in the marketplace. The next part of this strategy is the software. Again, we've got to use that software which really fits into our requirements. And you know very well that there are so many different kinds of softwares which are being sold to different industries all over the world. Starting with automated systems and applications for the front office, to CRM, meaning customer relationship management, and ERP, which is enterprise resource planning. There is so much which is being sold by world-renowned companies just in order for you to be more efficient, so that you can satisfy your customers as efficiently as possible. So people again have got to be trained in the area of software so that they can be effective in satisfying their customers. Just to say a few words about the kind of softwares I was talking about, the front office automation is much more comprehensive than what the front office just used to be. The front office is much more than just responding to telephone calls and greeting your visitors. The softwares that are available today really provide a tremendous support to the customer sales representatives or the operators who are part of the front office to dig into in detail the complete data of customers and use that for the facilitation of the same customers, and also for certain critical analyses so that you can be more helpful to your customers in days and times to come. Talking about the CRM, the fact is that the front office automation is part of the CRM strategies and CRM overall software applications, because the basic objective is to be very close to your customers, and especially if you are in such an area where you have just a few individual customers, you can pay detailed attention to your customers by being fully equipped with the kind of information which will impress your customers and which also will enable your customers to make their decisions to their own favor and to the favor of your company. Talking about the ERP software, let me tell you in few words, it could be very strategic in nature. It rather is, and it helps the top managers and middle managers to come up with strategies and business plans in a way which are very effective. And therefore, the emphasis remains on training people and educating them on the efficacy of different kinds of softwares. In today's modern world, if people are not really savvy at using the systems they are supposed to be operating, the organizations just cannot be effective. And the fact is that there are so many different kinds of industry-specific softwares which could help people to be efficient and effective. Taking the example of hotels, I think I talked about the software which helps hotel people to complete the data on all the prospects and then look into the different stages of the deals that are underway and the ones which are completed. And by maintaining that kind of information and a comprehensive data bank, they really can dig into information about any customer they want to study for different business and commercial reasons. Same is the case with insurance companies, and the same is the case with banks. The banks have so many different kinds of sophisticated models, and they really challenge your technical competence to handle and manage them. The emphasis of the whole thing is that your people have got to be supported with the relevant technology and equipment so that they can be efficient and be more customer focused to the customer's satisfaction. The next sub-strategy of this particular area is to develop service-oriented internal processes. Well, every company is full of internal processes, and the companies have been developing internal processes with emphasis on things like cost controls, productivity, and needs of their employees. Experts say that internal processes have got to be developed with customer in focus. And the customer satisfaction and values have got to be taken into consideration while we develop internal processes. And experts go on to say that bringing about this kind of a change from customers' perspective is what is known as process reengineering. Process reengineering could be staged with the help of getting back to the blueprint, which happens to be the mother of all processes and so many other things. Once you go back to the blueprint, you can pinpoint all those critical quality points which reveal the moments of truth. And these are the points I was talking about earlier, which really pinpoint the possibility of something going wrong. Either something going wrong or something taking place in just about the right fashion. And the objective is to make things fall in place so that they can take place in just about the right manner and fashion to the satisfaction of our ultimate customer. And therefore, this process reengineering is something that has to be given a lot of careful deliberation. The fact is that staging this kind of reengineering is not easy. Not from the technical point of view that you cannot look into processes from the customer's perspective. You really can do that, but the real challenge lies in implementing these processes which really are rooted deeply into traditions. So in order to dig those out of there and give them a new perspective, a new shape and form so that your customers take the driver's seat and they come into the forefront is the real challenge. I'm not saying it is not possible. It really is possible, and all those organizations which can undertake this exercise in kind of a gradual way are the ones which will be more successful in future. So these are the three strategic areas which comprise the major area of providing needed support system. And I will say it again that you need to have all the support systems in place with the help of technology and other human efforts through teamwork so that you really can prepare your people to deliver in the best possible manner. so that we can close gap number 3. What is the fourth and the last area of the strategic formulations? Well, it is retaining the best people. And the fact is that this is self-explanatory. When I talk about retaining the best people, I think it really flashes into your minds the considerations that we must have in order to keep good people, in order to make good people stick with the company. But unfortunately, that is not the case all the times. There are companies who start taking good employees or people from that point of view for granted. They think that the good people who have been performing well and also have been rewarded will always stick with the company, and there is no way that they will start considering some career alternatives. That is not where the truth lies. It is quite further from the truth. For the simple reason that good people could look at so many other things within the company. It is not just rewards which they get. It is not just the fat salaries which really make them stick with the company. There is much more to the whole thing. And we've got to have certain strategies, again 3 in number, which really will help us make good people stick with our company. Well, the first one is that we must involve the people in the company's vision. This is a kind of a philosophy which is followed by the certain top managers, and all those top managers and the middle managers who subscribe to this particular view are more successful than their counterparts in other companies. They take into confidence their people and share with them all the strategic moves which they intend taking in the near and also in the farther future. Now, this is not to say that they must share each and everything about the plans of the company in order to reach the visionary destination. But by sharing those things which may have a positive impact on the performance of the people, managers should not hesitate doing so. And when they share the aspects of the vision of the company, it really evokes a great sense of bonding, commitment, and motivation out of the employees, who resolve to stick with a company that really gives them reassurance, a sense of participation, and a sense of belongingness. People start thinking that this is a company that really trusts us, and that is why it is talking about all those moves which it intends taking in the future. And this company, therefore, is the one that we should stick with. This is like home to us. And they stop worrying about their futures. They like to stick with the company through thick and thin, and stop considering, by and large, alternatives in terms of placements somewhere else. The other strategy which you might have in order to keep your people ready for extremely good performance is by treating them as customers. This takes us back to the culture and the climate of employees and the climate of service. And this goes without saying that I'm talking about a good climate. A combination of the good employee climate and a good service climate is the one which really leads companies to perform better than their counterparts. And managers who subscribe to this particular view are also aware of the fact that things like the profitability and market valuation are a reflection of a combination or an interplay of these two climates. And they also realize that these two climates really complement each other. They believe in the fact that they have to have satisfied employees who are the internal customers and who in turn will satisfy companies' ultimate customers. Without having satisfied employees, there's no way that you can have satisfied customers. So internal customers have got to be treated with as much respect as you show to your ultimate external customers. And all those companies that give consideration to this strategy, or rather apply this strategy of HR as an internal marketing application, are more successful companies. The third sub-strategy of this area is to measure and reward service performance. Now, this is not to say that the good people are not rewarded in companies. The fact remains that every company rewards good performers. But the emphasis here again is on the customer satisfaction and customer values. And this again takes us back to the traditions which really emphasize rewards on the basis of sales, revenues, productivity, and so on and so forth. Because once we start taking into consideration the service excellence, that is what this strategy really talks about. According to this strategy, apart from the things that I've talked about, which have been in fashion and which always will remain in fashion and should remain as one of the standard practices, service excellence on the basis of individual performance has got to be recognized. And companies recognize that by drawing a relationship of individual performance with customer satisfaction. If your customers are satisfied, that is the measure of the service excellence rendered by either one individual or a bunch of individuals who were responsible for the delivery of that particular service. Although the drawing of this relationship is not easy, and measuring satisfaction of customers takes us back to the area of marketing research, therefore indicating that not every company might like to subscribe to this particular strategy. But the fact is, those that do subscribe to this strategy are more successful because they really can reward the star performers and therefore differentiate between star performers and those who are not star performers. This can be and really is a very effective HR strategy, and it really has a tremendous application in the area of internal marketing. So this is all about the 12 strategic areas which comprise overall 4 major strategies. And I would say it again that all those strategies basically are HR strategies, and they have a tremendous application and implications for the area of internal marketing. And therefore, we can say that all these strategies or these strategic moves are HR and internal marketing applications. We have to have these in place in order to create a culture which will make our company customer focused, service focused, and employee focused. These 3 areas are the ones which really make a company stand out of the crowd. And we know by employing the strategies that we have just learned, we can mold certain behaviors on part of our employees. And that is what the whole effort is all about. The whole exercise is destined toward creating a set of behaviors which can form a culture which will lead to customer satisfaction, good service, and satisfied employees. Because of the fact that culture basically is a set of shared values and exhibition of the certain kinds of behaviors, experts could go on to say that these behaviors, meaning positive behaviors that I was talking about, must be promoted by giving an excellent service to our customers and employees as well, meaning both to external customers and internal customers. And the second area which must be emphasized and promoted is what they call appreciation of good service. Now, this might sound very commonsensible and something minor, but it really has very major implications. Not all managers and not all companies could really get into appreciation, because they think appreciating your employees might lead to their complacency, and they might stop working as productively as they have been in the past, which may not be the fact. And therefore, by emphasizing in these two areas, experts say that you really can develop a culture which really is the basis of customer focus, service focus, and employee focus. But then the fact is, it is not really easy to develop this kind of a culture. It takes years and years, maybe decades, in order to come up with this kind of a culture. Is that to say that we do not give it a try? No. Like they say, that a journey of 1,000 steps must start with the first. So therefore, we've got to take the first step and must start working toward the direction of installing all those strategies that I was talking about, meaning all the 12 strategic areas. All those companies that are working on those strategies partially, they should undertake a comprehensive exercise to follow all those applications in their entirety so that they can start working on building up a culture which is required for the three focused areas, meaning, I will repeat, customer focus, service focus, and employee focus. When they do that, it becomes a way of life. And in order to make the whole thing a way of life, we have got to create a good climate of employees and a good climate of customers. If we really concentrate on these two areas, we really understand the implications of all the strategies that we have just learned. Now, with the help of these strategies and their implications, we really can minimize gap number 3. And I would like to take your attention to a slide which now has become kind of standardized slide showing us what is it that it takes to close a particular gap. As you can see from this slide, for closing gap number 3, there is just one factor, just one element, and that is people. People, people, and people. That I will say. And for that, we have to have the right HR and internal marketing applications so that we really can minimize the gap between specifications, stroke standards, and the delivery of the service. The delivery of the service is performance that I've been talking about over the last 2 lectures. With this, our understanding about minimizing or closing gap number 3 is complete, and we now proceed to a few additional concepts that we have to learn before we start learning how to close gap number 4. In other words, what I'm saying is, before we start dealing with gap number 4, there are a few issues which are to be learned, and one of those is the area of distribution. Well, I suppose that distribution is something which is known to all of us through our fundamental course on marketing. However, in the context of services, let us talk about distribution, which basically is a function of availability and accessibility. Availability means that a service product has got to be available on the marketplace so that the customers can come and buy that. Accessibility means that the product which is available, meaning the service product which is available, has to be available with relative ease so that the people do not really have any difficulty transacting about. One of the fundamentals of the areas of availability and accessibility is the operating hours, and especially in relation to services, operating hours is something that is given a lot of consideration by service sellers. It is because of that reasons that retailers are open late in the evening, because they have to serve their customers who work generally during the daytime, and the influx of customers that they experience during the evening time or late in the evening is much greater than what they receive during the daytime. Now, this is a world-renowned phenomenon, and all the retailers all over the world are following this particular practice. And the basic essence is to be more accessible to their customers. Another example could be of banks. Banks can have extended their operating hours. Even in our market, the banks are generally open until 5 p.m., which was not the case until a few years ago. And they have installed ATMs in order to improve accessibility. ATMs can have longer hours than the actual banking hours inside of the branches. And They also have gotten into the few more concepts which are extremely interesting and take our attention toward employing the latest technology in terms of being more accessible to your customers. You might have noticed the introduction of banking applications with the help of mobile telephone technology. This marks a new era which really is impressive, given the fact that the latest technology is going to be employed, and our market is going to be in the vanguard of all those markets that are following this practice, which is not extremely widespread. And in the coming years, we'll see growth and expansion of this particular kind of market. Well, this takes our attention back to one of the strategies I was talking about in relation to employing latest technology and giving your employees all those supports which can make them more effective and efficient. And in this particular case, what is going to happen is it is going to make this bank more accessible, because you as a customer can do the banking with the help of your mobile telephone. You can do transactions on all those products that the bank has introduced. You can check your balance on your telephone. You can have access to the account statement. You can recharge your mobile telephone balance. You can pay postpaid bills. You can also make payments towards your credit card bills and make account transfers. Now, just look at the ease and the facilitation which the bank has introduced in order to make all these things more accessible. So the bank really has taken the factor of accessibility to newer heights. Another example could be from the travel industry, which, because of the advancements in information technology, offers you the better and better accessibility every day. It's not that you only have to go to the airline's office or the travel agencies. You can buy your air tickets over the internet, sitting in your home. You can print the ticket then and there. And this is something which again signifies accessibility. So in other words, when we talk about distribution in the context of services, what is important is the issue of accessibility. Now, this is not to say that this is not important for manufactured goods. It is equally important for tangible goods as well. But all I'm saying is that the channels of distribution that we develop for services have got to take these two factors into account, because channels in this area of services are generally shorter. And when we make these channels shorter, we do count on these two factors, the meaning availability and accessibility. In order to have the further understanding into the structure of the channels, let's look at the two different types of the channel structure. The one is direct channels, the other one is indirect. Again, I would assume that you really have a very good knowledge of the channel structures, but just in order to brush up your knowledge about this particular concept, let me tell you that direct channels are the ones in which you do not really have any intermediaries, and it is the company that sells a service product directly to its customers. And you can think of so many services which really deal directly with their customers, and I do not really have to come up with any examples to substantiate this concept. Indirect channels are the ones in which companies do have intermediaries, and the nature of service is such that having intermediaries always helps companies to become more effective in terms of their outreach. They can be extensive as well as intensive when it comes to the outreach. So just look at the insurance companies and the number of agents, I mean freelance agents that they have selling their insurance products. And again, the case of the travel industry, the airlines have a lot of agents, and they sell their tickets, they do distribution, and emphasize their importance by way of providing availability and accessibility to customers. Accessibility, of course, is something very relative. When I was talking about accessibility with the help of information technology, that was in the context of application of the newest technology, but travel agents also can provide you accessibility if they happen to be close to the place of work or your residence and so on and so forth. So depending upon your circumstances, your situation, and so many other factors prevalent in the market, you make the decision which channel to go for. When you look at the channel structure as the seller, you look at two major factors. One is the target segment that you are trying to reach, and the other is the benefit which you think the customer should get. And the benefit is that of availability and accessibility. From the customer point of view, again, availability and accessibility. So again, from the customer's standpoint, it also depends upon customer's situation, the way to go, whether the customer wants to go for the option of internet or walk into an agency or the airline's office, so on and so forth. Depending on the nature of service, you decide whether you should go for direct channels or indirect ones. Another issue which we should be very clear of, and I again suppose we have a complete understanding of that, is channel options. Sellers could have different kinds of options in terms of making their products, meaning service products, available to their customers. And those are exclusive channels, selective channels, and intensive channels, multi-channel systems. What are exclusive channels or exclusive distribution for that matter? Well, this basically is kind of a setup in which you appoint a very limited number of agents or representatives, or for that matter outlets, who carry just your brand and nobody else's. And that is why this kind of distribution is known as exclusive distribution. Let me go back to the example which I gave you in one of my earlier lectures. One of the largest American insurance companies appointed one of the largest Pakistani banks as their exclusive distributor for selling their insurance products. Now, in terms of exclusiveness, it is just one bank or just one distributor, but in terms of the outreach, the implication is phenomenal, because the bank has branches all over the country. And because of that extensive network, the insurance company is going to have a tremendous outreach to start with. So this is a classic example of exclusive distribution, because this insurance company does not really have to go to anybody else. Now, by contrast, the selective distribution is a channel structure or a channel system which consists of a select number of agents, representatives, or outlets who carry your product. Because they are known as the selective agents who form this kind of the channel structure, they might also carry somebody else's products. They're not really exclusive. Now, to give you an example in this particular area, let me draw your attention to a hypothetical situation. Just try to envision another insurance company from one of the Western markets coming into Pakistan, trying to tie up another huge bank, and then failing, because no other huge bank is somehow willing to tie up with that particular insurance company. So what is the option that this company has? This company certainly has the option of going to smaller or small banks, and instead of appointing just one exclusive distributor, this company might tie up with a couple of banks who are willing to represent that particular company. And in that case, they become selective distribution network. Now, this is something which is not by choice. This is something which is dictated by the market forces and by the dynamics of competition. If the second company was to have been the first company to come to this market, that might also have chosen selective distribution. It is only because of the pressures and the forces of the marketplace that this company, under the circumstances I'm talking hypothetically, has chosen selective distribution. The third option that the service sellers have to themselves is that of intensive distribution. Intensive distribution, as the terminology suggests, is something which makes your product available at so many different places. So in other words, you like to appoint a number of agents or representatives or third parties in order to make your product available and accessible. The credit card companies really believe in intensive distribution, and their example, I think, can really reflect the concept in absolute clarity. The credit cards are used by almost all the industries nowadays, starting with restaurants, hotels, retail stores, to hospitals, to sports facilities, and to any place that you may think of. And therefore, all those entities, meaning all those commercial entities that are using credit cards, are credit card companies' agents or representatives, because they're helping the credit card companies to widen the use of their cards. And therefore, all these entities form the basis of distribution. And it is for that reason that the acceptance or non-acceptance of one particular credit card is a reflection of the effectiveness of its distribution. If you carry two different cards, the one is readily accepted, the other one is not as widely accepted, you draw your own opinion and develop a certain perception. And definitely your perception is positive about the one which is accepted by almost everyone and anyone. Whereas the other one which is not accepted by everyone and anyone, and people tend to be rather selective, is the one which gives you kind of a less than positive perception. So this example beautifully explains the concept of the intensive distribution. Another example which I can give you in relation to intensive distribution is that of the fast food restaurants that are in present day's world trying to get into places which are kind of non-traditional from their own standpoint. Fast food restaurants used to be stand-alone facilities at one time, and they still are. And the fact is that their flagship stores and the more prominent stores are the ones which are stand-alone. But then they started getting into places like the shopping malls and airports, which also is the case in our market. Time is not far when they might like to get into academic institutions, meaning campuses and also hospitals. All this could signify their efforts toward making their distribution more and more intensive. Another interesting option that service sellers could have to themselves is that of multi-channel system. Now, this is an option which is exercised by some industries, and it basically is the use of the more than one channel to reach more than one segment. So not only that you increase your coverage, you also lowers your distribution costs. And again, I would like to draw your attention toward the air travel industry. The airline tickets are being sold through the airline's own offices, through the travel agencies, and through the use of internet. These are all different channels. At the same time, they are reaching different segments of their target markets. One could be that of leisure travel, the other could be business travel, and so on and so forth. So this could be a classic example of the multi-channel system, which definitely is very interesting and can be a productive option if you happen to be in one of such industries that really can make use of this system. Now, before we part, let me talk very precisely about another issue which has become very hot nowadays, and it is the issue of channel resizing. And channel resizing basically takes place with the passage of time because we have new technologies, new equipment, and the changing market trends. It is therefore a function of all those factors. But a huge impact has come over the last few years, or I would say the decade or so, from the advancements in the field of information technology and telecommunications. These advancements have squeezed certain channels and have expanded some other ones. The ones that are squeezed that could be exemplified by the diminishing number of travel agents all over the world. The fact is that in more developed markets, the number of travel agents has reduced drastically because of the use of internet. The internet has become a major source of buying travel-related tickets because it is more convenient, it is more accessible. So the channels that I was talking about in relation to the travel agents and the overall travel industry are kind of resized because of the squeeze of these travel agents. This is not to say that travel agents could have lost their utility, that they still exist and they are performing extremely useful functions, but the interpretation could be drawn like this, that their number would have been much greater if we didn't really have the kind of developments that we are witnessing today, meaning the use of internet. In other cases, the channels have expanded again because of the advancements of the information technology and telecommunication services. Many of the big courier services have started specializing in inventory management and supply chain operations. They are extending a very valuable service to their clients who happen to be manufacturers by supplying machinery, equipment and different parts to different destinations of their choice, meaning of manufacturer's choice, thereby taking over the functions that I talked about, meaning inventory management and supply chain controls. This is possible only because of their strength of having in place information systems which allow them to run the warehouses in such a way that they can take control of the inventory in an effective way in terms of its transportation, logistics, and so on and so forth. And shipment schedule management. So in other words, the advancements in technology has had two different kinds of impacts. The one is positive, the other one is negative. This is what I meant by channel resizing. In the next lecture, I'll be talking about the strategic options available to sellers when it comes to strategy formulations. Just to give you a very quick summary of what I've talked about in today's lecture, the one was the culmination of the concept of people, meaning the performance of people and what it really takes to prepare people who are of high caliber, and then what is it that it takes to retain those people. And you will agree with me that the 3 or 4 key points are the ones which we have to keep in mind. The one is hiring the right people, the other is training and developing them, and the third one is providing them with the relevant support in terms of technology and systems, and the fourth one is to retain who are really good. If we can do that, we really can prepare people for good performance and thereby minimize gap number 3. The other area which I talked about is that of distribution. It is an independent issue, meaning it is not one of those issues which will help us minimize gap number 4. I made it very clear that there are a few issues which I need to talk about before I start dealing with gap number 4. Now, this is not to say that this concept is going to take place in isolation of our understanding and learning about the rest of the course. No. All I'm saying is that this is not one of those elements which can be bracketed among those that will be responsible to close gap number 4. We shall come to that later. Thank you very much for your patience and attendance. I look forward to talking with you again. Allah Hafiz until then.